You're watching the TCMMA podcast.
A weekend that will live in infamy is over. And what a wild weekend it was. We told you beforehand, we got Jake Paul beating Mike Tyson. We got John Jones beating Stipe. And I promise you the Miami Dolphins would win, although that's probably the one I was most nervous about. I figured the other two would come through. Miami's playing, the Raiders. Should be an easy win, and it was far from easy, even though the scoreboard wouldn't indicate that. So we made it through. So a lot of things going on this weekend, but the highlight for me, honestly, was Trump walking out at UFC. Because when that happened, I just knew it was like the height of the weekend. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that. But then again, it's New York City. You should have been. We should have all been prepared for that. But what I wasn't prepared, I was prepared for him to walk with Kid Rock, Dana White, right? All these guys. But I wasn't prepared for the whole cabinet to be there. That was crazy. I mean, the whole team was there. RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek, Elon Musk, everybody was there. And all of a sudden, the Republicans are like superstars. And it's just a wild scene. That was the climax of the weekend. Just because it's hard to top after that. It's hard to top. But let's rewind. Right? We talked about the big weekend ahead. Now it's in the past. So it all starts on Friday. Friday, like many of you, I'm working all day. And I know the Jake Paul fight is later that night. I wasn't really doing a lot of prep work for it. It doesn't take a lot of prep work, but you got to do like the thumbnail pictures for the video. You got to do stuff before the event starts. So I'm at work, and I'm hearing kids all day talk about this fight, and I'm like, you know what, this is going to be big. This is going to be huge. If the kids are talking about it, like, it's going to be huge. Like, everybody's watching. So now I get home from work, I prepared to watch it and do the live stream and all that, but I didn't expect it. I shouldn't say didn't expect. I wasn't prepared for how big it was going to be in terms of viewership and all that. I mean, people were tuning in like crazy. I'm like, how are we going to beat this on Saturday night for the real UFC, for the real fight? But the fight went exactly how I expected. I mean, it went exactly how I would expect. When we broke the fight down, and make sure you follow us on YouTube as well if you're not listening there. YouTube.com/@TCMMA podcast. Or just go to search TCMMA podcast. Stands for the Community MMA, and you'll find all the predictions and reactions and other podcasts and all that. So you want to get there. So the views are out of control. We're getting prepared. We're ready to go. Thing kicks off. And Mike Tyson, when the fight begins, it's like nobody knows what's going to happen. Everybody's holding their breath for Jake Paul. I mean, everybody. Want him to win, and 99% of the people did not want him to win. That's something I'll get into in a minute. But you hold your breath. And then the first 2 minutes go by. Then the second round, it's like, okay, here's when Tyson's going to do it. Second round comes to an end. And now I knew it. It was in Jake Paul's hands after that. The fear that you have before the first bell rings is diminished round by round. And this is nothing new that I've been saying for almost a year now. And it played out exactly how, there's always the variable of Mike Tyson getting the KO and the world goes crazy. Because that's really what everybody was tuning in for. But it didn't happen. Right? It didn't happen. Jake Paul won the fight. People were highly upset. You had to wait an hour for the fight to start. All those problems the UFC doesn't have. Then in the co-main event, probably really the main event, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. It seemed to me like Serrano won. We said on the live stream, like, 95, 94 across the board. That's what I got. Think is going to happen for Serrano, and it came out 95, 94 because of the point deduction for Katie Taylor. And Serrano should win the fight, and she doesn't. So I got to really look. I haven't seen the judges' scorecards because when that's over, I'm going to bed, and then UFC's rocking and rolling. So, but that was confusing. And of course, the Jake Paul fight was coming up right after that. So, wild night, Friday night, waking up Saturday. Like, how are we going to top this? John Jones is on the card. That's definitely going to help. But everybody expects him to win. Are people going to be tired from the night before? Are people going to be paying attention? Well, of course they are, but in what capacity? And it turned out that the card started really strong, right? A lot of finishes in the prelims. And then it slowed down. But moving into the pay-per-view event at the very end, like 9:50 with the pay-per-view starting at 10, all of a sudden Trump walks out. I am an American, boom, boom, right? All of a sudden you hear that echoing through the arena. Then it's like, oh, crap. And I wasn't even, if you'd have thought about it, you could have predicted that he was coming, but I wasn't even thinking about that. And all of a sudden when you see him on the TV, I said to myself, this night just got way bigger. And I started going crazy. I'm like, that's the president. And I'm yelling and screaming. That's our president. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just so cool because they're popular again. And now that he's definitely won, like Joe Rogan said, it's just like a weight off your shoulders for the whole country. Like we can all, and that's kind of scary too when you get calm, but everybody's tired of the nonsense. We're all glad we know who the president is now. Even if you didn't like Trump, it's like, okay, we know, and it wasn't close. So we don't got the problem of, election voting problems and all that. Trump won big. Even if the other way would have won big, at least somebody won big, and there's no question as to who won. So we can all breathe a sigh of relief. And as Trump's walking out, I'm just thinking this is a golden age. You got UFC for the next 4 years. You got the World Cup. You got the Olympics in LA in 28 at the end of the presidency. So you got all these big things coming. Those are things that are only going to help boost the economy even more than what Trump has planned. So it's just a really exciting time. And when he's walking out, it's like, whoa, here we go. Yeah, baby, Trump's in the house. But then you see the whole cabinet with him. It's like, not the whole cabinet, but several people that were just named. Name 4 of them at the beginning. All walking out, looking like rock stars, superstars. It's crazy. The Republicans weren't always this way, and now all of a sudden they're like the rock stars. I mean, it's really a wild thing to see. It's really a wild thing. I would never thought I would have seen that. See, and my thing is I'm conservative by numbers, by money, all that stuff. But I'm socially, in terms of the social stuff, I'm more liberal. I'm more down the middle. Don't bother me one way or the other until you go past the line and all this stuff. So it's like the Republicans have moved more to the middle, which is really good. And the fact that they're popular is interesting. And quite frankly, I don't care if they hijack the party because the party needs to come more to the middle to win elections. And that's just the bottom line. So you got all that going on, and then the main card starts. And you get 4 straight decisions. Started the watch party off with 8 rounds of commentating. And the only really exciting part was round 5 in the co-main event when Chandler nearly finished Oliveira, reminiscent of Nate Diaz and Leon Edwards, when Nate Diaz came back in round 5. So that was it. Then you get to the John Jones fight, and we're going into round 3, and it's like, oh my goodness. And I started thinking back, do we have any big finishes in the main card of either of these cards? Like, and I'm talking about the Serrano Taylor, Jake Paul Tyson. Obviously, those are both decisions. Now we got 4 straight in the main card of UFC 309. I'm like, oh my God, we need at least one finish. And if John Jones can get the finish, it's going to accelerate the UFC to a high level over this weekend. And then you get Dana, and that's what happened, right? And then you get Dana White in the press conference talking about how in the UFC, yeah, we're not trying to go to a stadium and have a rain delay and all that. We go boom, 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 boom. And that's why I know I can look at how many fights there are and tell you about how long the event's going to be, because it's about 30 minutes per fight. And when one fight finishes, you got about 15 minutes exactly till the next bell is ringing. I mean, so even if you're there watching or at home, you go to the bathroom real quick, you get something to eat, do something real quick, boom, the next fight's on. There's no playing around because they're in charge of their production. And Dana White said, you don't need a podcast before the final fight. I mean, he's just freaking hilarious, man. Dana White is absolutely hilarious. And it's true. Like, we don't need a whole thing before the fight. Let's just get the fighters out there and then let's commentate on the fight. And people there, you're messing with people's time. People are there to see the fight. Imagine if you're there, like you're seeing everything on TV. At least people are talking and it's trying to keep you entertained. But when you're there in person, it's like the one fight ends. You want the next fight to be coming right now. That's why you have 10 fights. So you can go boom, 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 boom. If you're at the end, you just got to keep an eye on the previous fights. And, it's like just because one fight finishes early, we don't have to wait 45 minutes to an hour for the next one. The next fight comes out. Guys got to be prepared and paying attention. And when the previous fight's on, you should be maximizing your warm-up at that point in time. I mean, what are we doing here? And that's the problem with boxing, and that's why it lost a lot of viewership. I was a diehard boxing fan growing up and just got out of it. In fact, that's what made it very difficult to start watching UFC. Thank goodness for Conor McGregor. I watched it a few times, and it's like, this is a different thing here. It's organized. It's 40 to 44 weeks roughly per year round. And when you watch it, there's no fluff. I mean, it's fight after fight after fight, and you know who's ranked in all the divisions and who the newcomers are and the top prospects. And yeah, you sit around with some fights that you really don't care to see, but you know it on some level has an impact. And for me, it's one of the greatest sports in the world right now, if not number one. And that's only because NFL is pretty good. Colorado Buffs won again this week. What's Deion now? 8-2? That was Saturday as well. Is he 8-2? It's ridiculous. They might make the playoffs. That would be wild. Because then anything can happen. I mean, don't we all want to see primetime in primetime? I know I do. And I'm just hoping that they go big this year and then Florida State gets Deion. Oh, Deion Sanders, you got to come home, man. That's the bottom line. I find myself rooting for Colorado now, and I'm a huge Florida State fan, but they're garbage. So that's Saturday. All those things going down Saturday. Just wall-to-wall sports. And, I'm sure a lot of guys were in this situation throughout the weekend as well. I mean, some weekends are just big, massive. Other weekends, okay, there's a game on Friday. There might be one game I want to see a little bit of on Saturday. Sunday, my team's playing. I'm going to watch that one. And, you got a lot of spare time within the day, but not weekends like this. Not weekends like this. This weekend was jam-packed. Then you get to Sunday. It's NFL time. Dolphins play at 1. That's my team. What time does your team play? So I got to be ready to go early. And Dolphins win. Right? We're 4-6. Don't count us out yet. It's hard for me to ever get too excited, though, because I just am prepared for the letdown. But I'm getting a little, I'm paying attention. 4-6. And know that we could easily be 5-5, if not 6-4. Losing 2 close games in a row that really set us back when Tua returned. So you get Tua on the protocol for 4 weeks. We went 1-3. Then he comes back and we're 0-2. So we're literally 1-5 in a 6-game stretch. And we still have a chance if we can keep winning to make the playoffs. Problem is there's not much room for error. And the Detroit Lions look amazing. They look ridiculous. The Steelers beat the Ravens 18-16 or something like that, 2-point game. So watching all those come to an end on NFL Red Zone. So just an exciting day of football. The 4 o'clock games are always massive as well. Sunday night football, all that. So the whole gist of this conversation here is, or what I'm saying, is that the weekend was jam-packed. Wall to wall. And I'm worn out. And just when you're worn out, the work week is about to begin. That's how it goes. And a lot of you are in the same boat. I'm not big enough on here yet uh, to be able to work on this every day. And if I was, I would still stay busy. Even if I had millions in the bank, man, I'd still be doing the show and staying busy. Promise you. But the bottom line is I got to go to work too. So it takes up a lot of time, man. All these things we're doing. But it's fun. And we're in the moment of Jake Paul and then UFC 309. And this was a little bit different of a week, which is why it was so huge, because normally Friday is the one day where nothing's going on. And this week was a lot different. It just made the weekend just be jam-packed with events. And I tell you, we got a lot of men listening to this show, but to the men too, but to the ladies, like, if you want to go shopping or you want to, you need something, the best time is when, how we talked about this before about a year ago, but the best time is when sports are on. You need some money to go shopping. He's not listening or whatever. That's when you start being a pain in the butt, and you're going to get your wish, because at the end of the day, the guy just wants to watch the sports, and he'll do whatever he's got to do if his team's playing or something as big as on, some big like UFC for me or whatever, and you just can get away with everything at that moment. And the guys are all shaking their head like, yep. Mm-hmm. And we'll totally oblige, So you got an advantageous situation when your man's team is playing. Take that to the bank every time. Don't get upset with it. It's just what he's gonna do. Might as well take advantage of the situation. Just being real with you. So long story short, I get my woman some money, and she went shopping. And she knows, oh, UFC's on. This is the time, because if I'm not paying attention or I'm, sidetracked, that's when it's gonna get rough, and I'm gonna have to do what I got to do. Do what I got to do to make sure I watch John Jones KO Stipe, right? So you had that. And we talked about getting in trouble this week. We didn't get in trouble at all. I mean, a little skirmish on Sunday, but nothing out of, nothing that everyone else doesn't go through. And, when it comes to arguments, you got to pick and choose your points, man, because you're going to probably lose a lot of them. And it's like a football point. When you're talking about an argument or a situation is really what they are. It's like a football player who gets hit really hard and the other team's kind of like celebrating over him, but it's over you, but it's not enough to get a flag. And you get a little frustrated because guys are stepping on your ankle or something and they're jaw jacking and they're pumped up and you just got rocked. And then you get up and you got two choices to make. You can get back to the huddle and keep everything good for your team, or you can throw a punch or shove a guy or whatever and get a flag. And now you made it worse because now you got a penalty, and that's what arguing back sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes does to you. So what I'm trying to tell you is don't get the flag. Don't get the flag. You got to be smart about it. And I'm not perfect with this stuff. I'm just telling you, sometimes you got to take the high road, man. You got to put your hands up and walk and walk back to the huddle. I remember one time we were playing in a college football game, and we were playing like the number 4 or 5 team in the country at the time, and it's 14-14 right near the half. We give up a big play. It was kind of my fault. The other team gets a touchdown. It's 21-14. We're still in it, but there's major problems in the locker room. Guys are fighting. Everyone's pissed off. And then we go back out there and we just get pummeled in the third quarter. Like the game is over. It's out of reach. It's that bad. In a game that had a great defense. We're very close. We're in the game for the first half with one of the best teams in the nation. And eventually around the end of the third, early fourth, the head coach calls a timeout and just reams everybody, man. Reams everybody. So then we go back out. No one's doing their jobs. We're dropping passes. Did pop, 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 pop. so we're all in trouble. And of course, the next play we go out there and I run a route over the middle, and of course the ball comes to me, so I better catch it. You know what I mean? Of course I catch it, and knowing while this ball's in the air, I'm about to get blasted. But we had just got yelled at on the sideline, so I have to catch the ball no matter what. And I catch it, and all I heard was boom, and like the place is shaking. You know, it was a place called Shepherd, and they have like fans sitting on the mountain, and it just felt like the whole field was shaking because I got rocked, and I got back up, and my whole body's tingling. They're jaw jacking. I want to fire back, but I can't because then I'm going to get a flag and make it. Now I just caught the ball and got rocked, so at least I stepped up for the team. But now if I get a penalty, it's not good for the team. So I run back to the huddle and I tell the quarterback I can't feel anything. Don't throw it to me the next play. That's all I'm telling him. I'm not catching it. And he knows. He just looked at me. He's like, I got you. So sometimes, even when things are rough, you gotta put your hands up and not get the penalty for the team. That's the bottom line. But this weekend was pretty solid, all around. Stayed out of trouble, at least in the short term. We'll see what happens this week. Gotta make sure I do what I gotta do and contribute and, maintain basically. But at the end of the day, it was a very good weekend, and knew it would wear me out. It did, and now things will slow down for a little bit because we do the UFC every Saturday. That's our main gig, and next week's starts at like 3 in the morning. So that means by 9 a.m. Saturday, UFC is going to be over, and then you got the off week the following week for Thanksgiving. So your boy Chris Cross is going to get some rest and start getting prepared for the final 2 cards of the year, and then get prepared for 2025. So it's all coming to an end quick. And with John Jones winning, we're on the 3-fight win streak now in the main event, so we're back to 22-17. And if you don't watch the podcast, the year started out 4-7, started out slow for us. We only got 4 right in the first 11 weeks. Then went on a major run, then went on a losing streak, back and forth, hovering just above 500. And now we get 3 in a row to pull away. It guarantees at least a winning season. Even if we lost the next 3, we're still 22-20. But we're hoping to win the next 3, finish on a 6-fight win streak in terms of the predictions, which is what we do. It's what we're known for, right? And 25-17 sounds respectable, because it could be the other way. You could be 25-14 looking great and lose the last 3. So 25-17 will be great. Even 24-18 will take it. But some tough main events coming up, like Colby Covington and Joaquin Buckley. You got the Pantoja Asakura fight. And then this week you got Piotr Jan versus Davis and Figueiredo, which is going to be a very tough fight. So we could very easily win all 3 or lose all 3. That's what I'm trying to tell you. But I'm going with Colby. I can't remember if I went with Pantoja. And then Jan and Figueiredo is like a toss-up. I think I went with Figueiredo, just because I like him and he's Brazilian. So it's going to be an interesting stretch run here to see how we finish. But I'm looking forward to the time off. The end of the year for UFC, like this is next Saturday, which will be over early, thank goodness. I'd rather just get up early and get it finished with, is the end of like 11 or 12 week stretch, including Contender Series, finishing up the last 3 or 4 weeks of the stretch, maybe 5 or 6. So it was busy. And it's like that every year when the summer comes to an end and I go back to work. The first 3 or 4 months are like that. And then you get like the halftime in between, which is what we're about to hit. So perfect timing. So we basically have made it. Last night was the big final test. Pay-per-view is always a different animal because we're guaranteed to do the live watch party. That was a blast. Although it gets my nerves up before it starts. I'm just ready to get it started and get it over with. My nerves get up. I'm trying to get all the pictures ready for the videos. I'm trying to make sure I got any clips we're going to run ready to go. It's just the whole thing, man. And I got a regular job, so sometimes it's a bit much, but you're always trying to improve, right? You always got to improve. So a lot of good comments this weekend, really over Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, all the guys that said Mike Tyson were going to win are now coming out like he's old, and that doesn't count as a victory for Jake. And but you just said that Mike was going to win, so you had Jake Paul predicted to lose and he won. So give the man his props. I mean, please, man, give the man his props. He won. But this is all the stuff we told you was going to happen before it happened. You just don't know till you see it happen. Sometimes we're wrong. But this one, I was pretty confident that Jake was going to get the win, and he did. So I don't want to hear nothing now. You know, I don't want to hear nothing. It's over and done with. And then we can get back to the UFC. Because all these big hype fights, and you just know boxing is going to screw it up too. So I was glad when that thing was over. But yeah, it made for a long weekend. On the next episode this weekend, we'll get into UFC Macau, talk about NFL, look at some college football because we're getting closer to the playoffs now, so we can start to get into that. Maybe talk a little college basketball because that's starting to get going. I know Duke is play Kentucky, they're playing Kansas. It's like Duke basketball has got a rough schedule in the month of November and early December, so we'll get into that a little bit. And just start, it's that time of year where everything is going on right now. I mean, everything. 4 of the 5 big sports are, and hockey's going on. I don't pay attention to hockey. I mean, my team won the Stanley Cup last year, so I definitely paid attention in the playoffs. But I don't watch hockey year round. So last year was busy with the playoffs too. So I mean, big ups to everyone around me who's putting up with me because I've been like a maniac when it comes to sports this year. And then the election, oh my goodness. But we have made it through, ladies and gentlemen. We have made it through the madness, and things should start to settle down now. And that's exciting because I'm ready to relax, man. I got a lot of movies I need to catch up on. Nothing like putting a good movie on and just chilling. It's the only time you can truly and really relax. But listen, it's been real. Just wanted to get in here and tell you what happened last weekend. It was a good one. Hope it was a good one for you. Feel free to comment. We'll start reading some of those comments specifically on this podcast. Something new we're doing, right, this weekend and last weekend. Along with the TCMMA podcast. The original. The Community MMA, the original. So we're everywhere, man. Wherever you're watching, God bless you. I hope you have a great week ahead. And for now, this your boy Chris Cross. Till next time, God bless. Peace.